Hello, Professor. This is Daniel Goodrum with my assignment 7 update for graphics. For question 1, creating the graphic objects class for textures. That's what I have right here. So here you can see my graphics class has a pointer to the shader and the texture. And then over here, I am creating the texture, the models, or the shader, the models, and the texture, and then the graphic texture object has these items thrown into it, and then sets the texture, and then goes through down here. We're not too far. And then goes here and renders the objects. Pretty straightforward. Let this run and show you what is going on. So here I got a square and the rendered triangle, both just doing their thing. Alright, so that's it for question 1. Question 2, doing it for a color class. So here's my shader color class, and light. Yeah, color and light. So here's everything. Here's my code. It once again, this one was pretty straightforward. And then in my CPP file, this one I put planes in so you can see the light. Planes, the texture, the shader texture, and the lit color shader. The model, one of the models is just a unit box, and then the other one is actually going to be using the texture. You'll see that in a minute. So then the graphics object with the texture, from the last one, and then here's the graphic color light. Here's my light input setup. Pretty straightforward. And then down here I set them to context, update the spotlight, and then render it, and then I render the additional object and the planes. So I'll go ahead and show you that now. So here you can see the light on the square doing alright, and then this is one of the texture objects behind it, and you can see that the walls are using the shader texture for the light as well. Not too much problems there. And then finally, this one I had quite a bit of problems, but I got it figured out. This was the last one I completed. So for the shader light, or the game object light texture, here's the light, or the game object class has a pointer to the shader, and the texture doesn't create its own. And then all the setup for the light like the other one, and then you can set the texture if you need to later. But I just made this one where you pass in the texture when you create the object. So so here, once again, the planes, and then I have just the unit sphere with the light, and then the model for a box, and then a texture for it. This is the lit texture, and this is the color lit. So the lit texture graphic object, I pass in the model and the texture and the shader. Set up the light sources. I just did them both for the same because I was running out of time. And then the here, because I made the texture, the one that was the textured light one being the one that was rotating, so that's what's going on here. And then this is where I had a big issue. So I was trying to render the you'll see it's a sphere, just a color lit sphere first, and then I was trying to do the texture lit object, which is a square, and then I was trying to do the backgrounds, but since the backgrounds are using the same tech or the same shader as the color lit sphere, it was going all kinds of haywire. It took me a while to figure that out. So here I'm doing the color lit sphere stuff, the walls, and then the texture. So I mean everything seems to be working all right. So here I have the sphere with the light on it, and then the square with the light on it. You can see the changes of the lighting on the texture sphere, or on the texture square, and on the sphere. That's all I got for this week. I wasn't able to do number 4 or and therefore I couldn't do the further work. But thank you very much. Take it easy.